Hi guys, and welcome to the Chitchat show on ELEGBETE TV and radio. My name is Idafi Matthew Esiogene. You love to call me the ELEGBETE one of sports. And I always say that the world is a global village, and from Australia to Nigeria is just a click of a button, especially if you have the right kind of people around you and you have the right kind of friends in high places. You definitely can see and meet with anybody. In my place where I come from in Warri, they say with proper arrangement, the devil can see God. But then I also say that with proper arrangement, man can connect with God. And so this is me connecting on the show today with somebody who is generations ahead of me, who you could call a god in the sports that I do. I'm a sports analyst and a sports commentator. And I always say that in Nigeria, one of the things that we lack the most is sports commentator. We practically don't have up to 10 sports commentators in a country of 180 million people. So the last time I spoke with Martin Tyler, we call him the Zeus of commentaries in European football. Now I'm going to the Zeus, or probably Poseidon. Do I say Poseidon? Of commentaries in the United States of America and in Houston. I mean, it's been everywhere. And just to cap it up, don't just say, oh, you're just bringing in a commentator on the show. He's a sportscaster par excellence. He's worked with every high-level channels that you know, from radio to TV. He's worked with ESPN. He's called matches for United States of America. The men's national team. He's called matches for the World Cup. He's called matches for the Davis. I mean, just about anything you can think of. This man is the man. He's also was formerly a pro footballer, and I mean everything in one. ESPN, Fox Sports, Houston Dynamos games. He's been everywhere. And I always say that Nigeria and America have a whole lot in common. We have the same kind of struggle, the same kind of lifestyle. And in this time of the racial divide and the march for Floyd, I said it before on this show, and I'm going to say it again. Racism is not a battle between white and black. Racism is a problem that is caused by very few elements of society, just the same way some people think that every Nigerian is a Nigerian chief who is a fraudster. But then the man I have today is the representation of that fact. Call him a white man, you're not wrong. But the truth of the matter is, he's a man with the blood of God. He's a man who loves to share. He's a man who loves to teach. And we're practically going to the classroom today to learn from this great man. I present to you, everybody, make welcome to the ubiquitous, the excellent, the amazing Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis, you're welcome to the Chitchat show with me.
Adafe, I don't know how, first of all, I don't know how I'm going to follow up Martin Tyler, but second of all, boy, thanks for such a wonderful introduction. As you know, we have a common friend that introduced each other, and in Sam and Bono. So I'm very grateful to be on your show and the Chit Chat show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sam Bono is for me, is a bridge builder. He's hooked me up with just about anybody who is in sports in the United States of America, boxers, everybody. And he's still, knocking on doors for me. Even in this COVID season where everybody have enough excuse not to get involved, but he's one guy who is always involved, and I'm very grateful for him. And I thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview with me. The way we go about it, I've done all the introductions that I know about you, but there's nobody who knows you better than you. So for my viewers and my listeners out there, let's meet Glenn Davis.
Well, what do you want to know about me?
Everything that you're willing to tell me.
All right, well, I'll give you a Cliff Notes version. I grew up in New Jersey. I was around Giant Stadium and when Pelé was in America. So I was influenced by the New York Cosmos and the North American Soccer League. I had an amazing youth soccer coach from Scotland, a man named Tom McDonald, who recently passed away, who ignited the fire of and passion of the sport of soccer underneath a bunch of little kids. We played in a lot of very ethnic areas around New York City growing up, Scottish areas, Irish, Portuguese, very, very defined as kids. At the New York Cosmos, went on, played in college, and then played professionally in the United States in the 80s. It was a tough time for the professional game here in those years. What I did know was that I had a passion for the game and I wanted to remain into it. So when I got done playing professionally, I got involved in player development with young players, mentoring, teaching, coaching, ran a youth club. We had kids from all over the world in it, a really good, diverse club. Some of them went on to Major League Soccer. A lot of them ended up playing in college. But the most important thing that I tried to impart on kids that I work with was that I wanted them to have a lifetime of enjoyment around the game. I didn't want them just to play the game to get into college and get a scholarship, but I wanted them to love and enjoy the game. And then one day when they had families, they pass it on to their kids. So I see a lot of these kids now in the stadiums that now have 2 and 3 children. They're all in soccer, they're coaching. Some of them are making a career out of coaching. But it's that cycle that's important to me. And, you know, one of the things you texted me yesterday really stuck out to me, and it told me a lot about you very quickly, even though it was just, you know, on WhatsApp, was that you were mentoring a lot of young commentators. Well, look, you know, we're on this call right now. We're in the same profession. You're brethren, right? We're connected. You're a commentator. I'm a commentator. We take our careers very seriously. We work every day at our careers. We go through the ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we're passionate about it. And to me, when you look out infinitely. That's the way you have to look at your career. If it's just, I'm trying to do this because I want to get likes on Twitter, and, you know, I want to be a social media star or for celebrity, you're going about it the wrong way. You and I will always have the sport of football as our backup, as the thing that drives us. So that was what really jumped out to me about you, Edafe, was the fact that you were mentoring and working with young commentators. And you said something that made such great sense to me. Nigeria is an incredible soccer country. We have a real big, large, passionate Nigerian community here in Houston that love the game. And I know a lot of the former Nigerian Super Eagles come through Houston because they have, you know, relatives and family here. But, you know, when you said, wow, a soccer country like Nigeria with so much passion, where the game means so much to everybody, it brings joy, it brings heartache, it brings all kinds of amazing emotions to us. To not have your own commentators, that's strange, right? Every country should be dependent upon their own to talk about the game in the way that they see it, you know? So that really struck me very strongly, Edafe.
Okay, so what we have a lot of like analysts, reporters, but then game callers, which is the real work of a commentator. Like what Martin Tyler does, what Peter Drury does, what you do, what Tommy Smith does for ESPN and the Champions League, and, you know, games that are played in the US. We really don't have a whole lot of that. And most times, you know, it comes down to, there are certain things you can pick up as you grow, as a child. It's just, you know, on the streets. But then commentaries, as I travel around the world and around Africa and past, you know, other continents, one of the things that I've noticed with commentary is the American commentator is doing commentary the American way. And I watched a lot of NBA, a lot of basketball. I mean, I cover all sports, but I'm fully 100% a football person. And there is always that excitement that comes with you watching a game, like when the NBA is on, for instance, and then there is a buzzer beater from downtown, maybe by Kevin Durant or Stephen Curry or LeBron James or Iguodala, any of these guys. The call is a lot more interesting than the basket itself, going to the net. And then it's the same thing for soccer. When Peter Drury is describing a game that is played in the Premier League, you kind of like get taken aback, like, oh, I wish I could have a Nigerian who is calling a game like this with the Nigerian accent, the Nigerian attitude, the Nigerian slangs, as you want to put it, the Nigerian slangs. But let me come to you, Glenn. First, you are an American. So Americans are known for basketball, baseball, ice hockey, and the NFL, which is American football. How did you manage to, you know, get past this maze and focus on football and be as good at it as you are? Because I've listened to your clips and God, you're good.
Well, you know, listen, first I would just say that I'm also part and parcel of the game, and all boats rising with the tide of the game, right? So the game has risen as I've been involved with it. So that's also a big part of it. Soccer, to me now, is an American game, Adafe. It's been around for a long time. It just happens to be on a very, very crowded sporting landscape, right?
Yeah.
In leagues that dominate and get more relevance in the media. And this is a whole nother area that has to change, which I'm hopefully a small part of the change. That's why I have radio shows on here in Houston and Austin, and people can listen on the internet, is because I want to grow the game. I have other goals than just being the best commentator I can be. I want to be the best commentator and help grow the game, not only in my community, but also nationally, right? So the rising tide has been a part of it. I got a break to get into television, and I said, wow, at this time, you know, the game doesn't get the respect. So maybe I can drive the respect. Maybe I can create a radio show. I started on public radio. I then brought it to mainstream radio, which is where I am now. And I have more listeners. So, you know, it's been a process. And I heard you talking to me about your career and how you're hitting it hard every day. And we hit it hard every day. We're like athletes. We hit it hard every day, but we love what we're doing. And we love the process of getting there and training. And every day is a small victory. Like being on your show today is a small victory for me personally.
It's more of a victory for me, honestly. It's more of a victory.
I have an opportunity to speak with you, to meet you. Hopefully some of your listeners will get something out of this interview. Maybe they won't, but that's most important. So I got a break in television. I started as an analyst, as an ex-player, which most people do.
Yeah.
And then one day I said to myself, wow, there's nobody with a soccer playing background really doing the play-by-play role, right? The game calling, which you call it, which I actually like that term, game calling. And I said, I'm going to switch over, because now from that position, I can lead my analyst into some more tactical nuances, more soccer-related stuff, as opposed to a guy who's a basketball announcer who just happens to be jumping over to do TV on soccer because somebody thinks he's a great announcer. So that's how it happened for me. I always do it out of respect for the game and the players. I'm there to enhance the game and help the game. I'm not there to be the show. Because the show is the players and the sport. And so that's kind of how it happened for me. And then it grew.
Hello.
Happened overnight. This happened slowly, getting opportunity, working at it, trying to get better, watching other commentators, practicing. Because I knew I had to acquire a skill. I knew just because I think I know a little bit about soccer and have some experience, that's not going to make me a good commentator. I'm going to have to learn how to be a play-by-play man. I'm going to learn how to use the natural sound in a stadium. I'm going to learn how to work with the camera. I'm going to learn how to be a part of a team, because when two guys get in the booth, you're going to get judged on how you are together, right?
Absolutely.
Not apart. If you work together well, the broadcast is going to be better. And then you have to learn how to respect everybody who does all the other jobs on broadcast, whether they're chyron operators, producers, directors, cameramen. These are all people that are a part of the team. So as years went on and I got more experience, everything began to crystallize, and I really began to understand where I fit in the call of the game on the day.
And you know, it is instructive and very, very pertinent what you said about, and I said that to a lot of young people. And when I say young people, I don't try to disrespect them. I'm 43. It doesn't make me a lot older, but I started pretty much long ago because I played football. I got injured pretty early, and then I started calling. And one of the things that happened to me was similar to what you just said. I was listening. I always listen to radio, and most times, no disrespect to the fellows who was doing the job, but I always say that this guy haven't been inside the dressing room. He doesn't understand what it means to go inside the dressing room and the coach is bellowing at you 100% and screaming your name and saying all sort of things. And then you still have to come back in the next 45 minutes and deliver. He doesn't understand what it means to be signed by another coach and that coach get fired and a new coach comes in who brings in a player who plays in exactly your position and the coach tells you in the training ground that you're not in my plans, but for now, you're going to be playing. So you're playing games where you know that you're not part of this thing. So I went into radio for that reason in 2004. I said, I want to correct an impression. The game is bigger than this. The game is bigger than just criticizing these players, just, picking on them and feeling like they don't know what they're doing. And then I thought I loved football when I was playing. But then when I started calling game, I found out that I fell in love with football in a different kind of way from how I used to love football. I don't know if that worked for you, but then I began to see football differently. I was quick to see their pains. I was quick to understand why a player is not performing at maximum, because I kept asking questions like, do you know if he's eating right? Do you know if he's dealing with emotional or psychological problem? Because these are things that I dealt with. You could get a call that tells you that your mom is sick, she's having cancer, nobody knows about it, and then you got a game in the next 2 hours. And then you got to play, yes, you want to perform at your best, but in your head, there's cancer waiting for you at home. So all of that helped me in the way I involved in the culture. And then it crystallized with when I went to the World Cup in 2014, and I called game after game after game. And Martin Tyler walked up to me one day and he said he's not seen anybody this fast and this emotional talking football. And I think it's the biggest compliment that anybody's paid me. So let's go with you on your journey. And you've been here since forever. Martin Tyler said he's been doing it for 48 years.
That means I'm old, Adafe.
That's not what I said. But what are the ups and downs of this job, especially knowing fully well that even though you are in a better country than I am, it doesn't pay as high as, going to do other things. What are the highs and the lows that have come with you calling soccer as a commentator?
Yeah, I think the highs and the lows, look, I've made mistakes. Everybody has. It's about how you bounce back from mistakes. I look at games very analytically, and I say to myself, what could I have done better on this game? I said something in 4 sentences I could have said in 2, and it would have stuck out, and it really would have been a lot more vibrant if somebody was listening, right? So I do a lot of self-analysis. I've been turned down for a lot of jobs, like everybody else, and you have to keep going back. And I think, it's really easy to look at somebody and say, wow, this guy's had the opportunity to do World Cups or Olympics or, very important games, done a lot of games at a studio that are international games as well. And forget about the journey. Athletes, coaches. If you really go far back and you look at where they began and where their first job was, there's really remarkable stories there. What their economic class was, how they rose out. These are the stories, and everybody has that story. Now, my situation is a little unique, and I think it's a good example because it doesn't happen often, that I was not trained for any of this, right? I timed it right. I had opportunity. I was willing to learn. I was willing to listen. I was willing to watch others. I would say I was very coachable, right? We all know what that means with a player, right? Like, let's take Alphonso Davies right now, who's at Bayern Munich, who was playing in Major League Soccer. He's the starting left back for Bayern Munich. He came to Canada. He emigrated with his family. He grew into a talented soccer player. Now, if he goes to Germany and he doesn't have the mind and the ability to listen to coaches, to understand tactics, to grow, he's going to struggle. And he obviously does. I can't believe how well this kid is playing, how his development has been accelerated. And what I want to see is, what can this guy do as far as the ceiling? Because in 2 years, there's no telling where Alphonso Davies is going to be, because not only is he already at an incredible level in so many different ways as an athlete and as a footballer, but he wants to keep learning. He wants to get even better, and he's in the perfect environment to do it and blossom. So I'm always looking to get better. I'm always watching other people. Something I just learned from you. You just said a minute ago about the passion. This is one thing I love about Nigerians, their passion for the game. You express yourselves differently than other people when it comes to soccer. That should come through in the commentator in Nigeria, right? That probably comes through with your work, I'm sure.
Yes, it
because
does.
it's a great characteristic of Nigerian footballers, expressive, exciting, creative. That's why when Super Eagles play, I want to be watching.
Yes. And most times, you know, I sit down and I'm watching a game. My eyes are on the game because I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to respond to a lot of questions. I mean, you've got fans, so you're going to answer to as many as you can. So you can't answer to everybody. But then my ears are a lot more tuned to what the commentator is saying, how it picks the moment. Because our job, no matter how you rehearse, you don't rehearse with the game. This is the only job where you don't prepare with the game. A musician wants to perform at a concert, he goes there, perform with the band, do all the dress rehearsal with the band, he understands the key and all that. You know, at the award ceremonies, there is a teleprompter. But then a commentator does not have all of that. No matter what you rehearse, you're not sure if there's going to be own goal in the game, there's going to be a red card, the team is going to perform poorly, the substitution the coaches are going to make. So this thing is moving real time and you're calling it. And most times when I listen to Spanish commentators, take for instance a goal is scored and you hear a commentator shouting in Spain, goal, 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 goal. That passion. And then probably an Arabic commentator that is shouting, yala, yala. I mean, like, you know. So you also want to see a Nigerian commentator do the same. Like, okay, Americans and British are more of words because the English language, to me, is one of the most manipulative language in the world. That you could say things. Okay, like when Peter Drury went to, like, they said it couldn't be done. They said it's not possible, and it was done. Rome has risen from its ruins. Manola, as a Greek god, has done all of that. You know, you can play with words. The same for you guys in the US. Now, I'm thinking that in my own area, we could also adopt words like, you know, the most popular words like Nigerian jollof, buka, you know, those kind of things that comes in and give it a fusion into the game. Those are some of the things. So I want to look at the American national team. In 1994, for instance, and I was still young, I was still a teenager, you guys have like a bunch of, at that time, nobody knew them. Tony Muela, Mike Lapa, you know, Mike Burns, Clement Coleman, Thomas Dolly, John Hacks. You have people like Kobe Jones, who's my favorite player. I used to have dreadlocks.
A lot of those guys I've called games with and consider those guys friends now. Balboa,
yes.
all these guys.
Claudio Reina, who is a very lovable guy. Your amazing defender, Marcelo Babao, the captain of your team, Alexi Lalas, and all this fantastic group of guys that you got. Eric Wanada, I love him too. Your reserve goalkeeper, Jürgen Sommer. And then from that moment on, you know, that team was fantastic. You lost to Brazil, which is understandable. Lost to Brazil, we're not lucky in a couple of games on Independence Day. I still remember it was July 4th. You guys lost to Brazil. And it made me fall in love with July 4th, actually. Now, fast forward, every time we start having American players, you have one that really stuck out to me was the one that came to the Premiership via the German Bundesliga. I've forgotten his name now.
Pulisic?
Huh? No.
Currently, Christian Pulisic?
Previously, he played in the Premier League. But where I'm driving at is, all of a sudden, America started producing quality players that could come in. And now you have Pulisic, you have Davies, you have there's one other player again that's really making it good.
Weston McKennie at Schalke.
Yes. You know, the transition between Coach Bruce Arena and Jürgen Klinsmann give you guys a pull. But then somehow the last World Cup in 2018 in Russia, you guys didn't qualify. And some people said it was the tension between America and Russia, the election issues. America decided not to qualify. And I'm saying that, is that possible? But then in 2026, most likely, I mean, all things being equal, you're going to host the biggest World Cup ever. And as we always say, America like making it big, like making a bang from the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics to the 1996 Atlanta Olympics and now 2026 World Cup. And then you guys have some of the best arena. The Mercedes-Benz Arena is in America, a whole lot of fantastic arena for soccer. How is the preparation for 2026 going? Because we're in 2020, 6 years away. How's the preparation going?
Yeah, so first thing I would say is back to that World Cup not qualifying. Those are conspiracy theories. We didn't qualify because we were arrogant, okay? We did not respect Trinidad and Tobago in that last game. A very motivated group of young guys. My understanding is a lot of people had already thought the ticket was booked and punished for arrogance, okay? And I mean that sincerely, okay? The attitude was there. And that's a bad attitude, and they suffered, and we suffered tremendously for that. 2026 right now, I think there's not a lot of talk about it, and the only reason is we're trying to get through COVID, and everybody's trying to get Major League Soccer
up and running.
You know, some form and shape of it done this year, just like La Liga, which is starting this week, and the Bundesliga, which started, and the Premier League, which is coming. So it will be a big party. There's a lot of interesting things going on between the United States and Mexico, and the potential of combining leagues and having a super league at the top above Major League Soccer and Liga MX. There's a lot of really interesting things going on. A lot of that talk, though, has really come to a screeching halt right now, just because of what's going on with COVID and all the other things related to that. I mean, we have 30+ million people unemployed now. You know, there's just all kinds of things going on. We have the race issues going on, as everybody's seen now. So there's a lot on the table for us to figure out and get corrected and get right and get reformed. But 2026 could be something special. 3 countries hosting it, US, Canada, Mexico. That's interesting in itself. And we got to make sure that the Super Eagles are here. It won't be a good party.
No, we're definitely working hard to be in the US. One of the things that I know is that the Super Eagles have like the best crop of young players that can grow from now to 2026 and mature into the class that can compete for the World Cup. I mean, the goal is to get to the last 4. When you get to the final 4, it's anybody's competition. You don't go out to the World Cup and say this team is going to win the World Cup, but then get to the last 4. But then the best.
You had a very young group in Russia, and they've already got a World Cup behind them. So I remember watching Nigeria in that World Cup in Russia, and I'm saying to myself, okay, these guys are getting tremendous experience here.
Yeah,
and I think, where will they be in 4 years? I would say it's got to project upwards.
Yeah, we're projecting upward, and I think what happened in Russia was that the buzz around the jersey got to the players. The buzz. I mean, we won the Jersey World Cup and lost the Football World Cup. But when it comes to the unveiling of the Nike jersey, I don't think that any country has ever had such a beautiful unveiling like we did.
Oh my God!
So the buzz around that jersey.
Few of those were sold around the world. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I do.
I meant that sarcastically. That jersey is so popular.
You know, but then this time around we have players like Chukwueze, who's playing for Villarreal, and I know that in a couple of months or next transfer window, he could be going to the Premier League. There is Victor Osimhen, who's the African Player of the Year in France, who plays for Lille, who's also the Player of the season for Lille of France. And then we've got, I mean, he scored the same number of goals that Neymar scored. Could you believe that? I mean, a kid who just came back, who scored 9 goals at the Under-17 World Cup where we won it in Chile, scoring the same number of goals with the great Neymar, who's the heir apparent to the throne of Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. And then we've got all of these other guys, Shehu Abdullahi, Kenneth Omiro, who's got plenty of experience. Our goalkeepers are also gaining a lot of experience. And then in midfield, we've got Joe Aribo, we've got the best defensive midfielder in the English Premier League right now by all standard, talking about Wilfred Ndidi, and then Ogana Karitebo, Alex Iwobi, who is the nephew of Austin Jejo Okocha, your favorite Nigerian player. If all of these guys really do come together and gel, I think that in 2026, they would all have been like in the 27, 28, 29, 30, and that's the peak of a footballer's career. We just might do well. But then lately, you said the Trinidad game was a question of arrogance. Now there's this minute conversation that Klinsmann brought down the standard of the American game. because the American game is built like the eagle, like everything that is American. There's plenty of pride, there's plenty of heart, there's plenty of dedication, work to the death. And then Klinsmann came in and brought in all of this European style, and then it became a conflict. And I was writing a piece a time ago, and I said Europe is helping to destroy football all over the world and making it just a European thing. And this is my theory. I might be wrong, it's conspiracy, but this is my theory. Back in the 70s and 60s, players in South America are known for flair. African players are also known for flair. But now this day and age where at the age of 14, 15, 16, you have to play for Europe, play in the European club to get validation. Now you go to Europe, you learn how to stay less on the ball. Now it's the European style. It works for European kids and their way of life. But then when you ask an African player who's supposed to do a whole lot of step overs and dribbles like the Brazilians as well, to stay less on the ball, you kill their intuitive thinking. And so everybody now is trying to play like European. In 2014, I was in the World Cup, I was calling the Brazilian game, and I said that this Brazilian team needs one quality European team to beat them silly, because they are struggling so hard to play like Europeans when they should be playing at home like Brazilians. They should be giving us samba. And then eventually they met the strongest European team of 2014, and they were beaten 7-1 in the semifinals. Do you think Klinsmann brought the standard of the American soccer team, the US men national team, down? Because your female team is still the best, unbeatable in the world. But that Klinsmann Bruce Arena thing, do you think is it true?
So before I get into that, I would just say, look what Bayern Munich's doing with Alphonso Davies. They're allowing him to be creative, to go forward, to do the things that he really does. I think since Europe is where the money is, this is where players gravitate. And I think you're making a good point. Players do change culturally over there based on the tactics and the system and individual countries and how they play. Italy plays different than Spain, who plays different than England, who plays different than Germany. So I think there is some truth to what you're saying, but football now it's global, it's diverse, everybody's going everywhere. So it's hard to keep that definition sometimes of a Brazilian player, right? Some things may change if he comes to a more autocratic system in Germany or in Italy where a team is defending deep. And all of a sudden you're trying to plug in a Brazilian who's known for, like you said, step overs and taking people on, right? Going back to Klinsmann and Arena, and even Bob Bradley I'll put in there.
Yeah.
Our national team's success at World Cups, outside of Arena's year in 2002, we surprised a lot of people then with a lot of young players, Landon Donovan, DeMarcus Beasley, guys that went on to have great careers. The Bob Bradley year, the Klinsmann year, we achieved the same thing at the World Cup with both those guys. And the reason I say that is if you remember, we were lauded for our fighting spirit, our ability to survive the group stages. But what we also did in those group stages is we expended a lot of energy. So by the time we get to the knockout rounds, we've put all this energy into getting out of the group stage. And one day we're going to learn how to navigate and conserve some energy so that when we get into the knockout stages and rounds, we can then maybe deliver a killing blow against another nation and maybe go a little bit deeper into the World Cup. So there wasn't any difference between the results of the two. This is a big country. This is a country that has a lot of conflicting soccer ideas. It's got differing youth setups all over the place. There's a ton of money changing hands at the youth level, as you know. I mean, ridiculous amounts of money in youth sports. Youth sports is multi-billions in this country when you start factoring in, baseball, basketball, volleyball, you name it. It's big, big money, and that hurts to a large degree the whole pay-for-play theory. Klinsmann had his own ideas. They were definitely different. I definitely think there's a lot of ego there. You saw what happened at Hertha Berlin. He's not there now. They're winning like crazy. He did push the U.S. player to go to try Europe. And that that didn't rub well with a lot of people, especially Major League Soccer, because Major League Soccer wanted to keep these players there. I have no problem with ever saying players shouldn't be trying to go to Europe in the highest leagues in the world. If not, we're in a bad place. You want the players to go to Europe because they come back with different experiences. So I don't think there's any problem with that. But Klinsmann was eclectic. He was controversial. There's this camp in the U.S. that, the U.S. coach has got to be an American. There's others that, hey, let's look beyond that. I know you have that same thing in Nigeria. Should the coach be Nigerian? Or should it be a German or somebody from Europe coming in? And it's always a tremendous debate. So, I honestly believe we missed a great opportunity with Tata Martino, who was the coach of Atlanta United. Came here, understood the league very quickly in 2 years, won the title. Very open guy. I knew a lot of his assistant coaches. I've interviewed him. He really was a quick study on the American game. The players absolutely loved him, respected him. We didn't even interview him. U.S. Soccer never even interviewed him.
So bad.
That's nothing against Greg Berhalter, who I think is a very talented coach, but we didn't interview Tata Martino, and Mexico snapped him up. And I think this was maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because you're going to get a foreign coach that had now been in America for a while, been in the top pro league, worked with top American players, made mistakes, corrected them. He was in a great place to, I think, really influence the sport, even down to the player development side of it, being from Argentina and having coached Argentina and Barcelona. So I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity, and to not have interviewed him, I thought was almost negligent. But Klinsmann, Bruce Arena, lots of different things. Bruce Arena, many will tell you, was a motivator. Klinsmann was a motivator. We've heard the stories. He's not a good tactician. He's a motivator. And Yogi Low used to do it when he was with Germany, all the tactics, and he was the motivator. So these debates will go on. We have to get to the next World Cup, though. I don't think
for sure.
World Cup, out of sight, out of mind, not good for this country.
Not good, especially when you're hosting the next one. Well. Yeah, and so finally, as we round up, it comes to money. I always ask these questions from people that are successful, that are doing well. You just alluded to it when you talk about tons of money in grassroots, in youth football. And one of the biggest place where we are low is youth football. We don't do our youth football very well. We don't even make money from it. How do we go from just playing football on the street, developing academy, and converting it into money? Because that's a rocket science code that we've not been able to crack. Maybe we need the CIA, FBI, Mossad, or KGB to help us crack it. But how do we convert grassroots football into mega money? Because it is that money that would help in developing our football. How have you guys been able to do it very well that we can learn? What can we learn from the American system?
Well, we can say we've done it very well from the standpoint of making money, but that doesn't necessarily transfer always into developing soccer players, right? Because you get a lot of people motivated because they see the youth soccer community here. They see the desire to get college scholarships, and people's motivations for football, which is the first and foremost thing you're supposed to teach young kids, right? You're supposed to go out there and light a fire under them for the game that they can have a lifetime of enjoyment with. So it's a controversial subject, I would say. And it's also a dangerous subject because you don't want it to get overcapitalized in Nigeria, or you lose some of the things.
Yeah.
When people are simply motivated for money, and that's the sole motivation, you're not going to do anything great. So I think that's just kind of the American way with soccer now. We're trying. It's funny, in our country, we're like, wow, why don't we have more street players? And why don't they just pick up the game on their own? And why is it so overly organized here? Now you're telling me Nigeria, we're playing on the streets. We're playing because we love it. We're going out there because, it's
we're not organized.
We're passionate about it, and now you want to monetize it. So it's funny because they're two very directly different things, and the question is, can you have a balance in that? Because you do want your best coaches to be compensated. You do want your best coaches to be able to make a healthy living at this.
Yes, it is. That's the point.
We don't want the sole motivating factor just to be, how much money can I make off kids?
Oh, yes, of course. That's not the sole motivation. But sometimes when you look at these coaches living in poverty, it's terrible. So finally, my final question to you.
And by the way, these are questions I'm going to ask you because you're going to come on my show.
I will. I definitely will.
We're going to talk about the Nigerian First Division, how it can be made better. We're going to talk about youth soccer. You're going to take me into everything. So be ready. I'm giving you fair warning, Adafe.
I'll be ready. I'm wearing my ammo. Okay,
I'm not worried about you being ready.
Okay, so now, the guy out there who wants to be a commentator, the guy who wants to be calling game minute by minute, as fast as the game goes, when you're preparing for your game, like you want to call the Houston Dynamo playing against maybe any of the teams, what are the preparation steps that you take? This is my final question. I've really kept you long. This is the final one. What are the preparation steps?
I'm enjoying being with you.
What are the pile-up cards that you put together?
So since I played at the professional level, I was very disciplined and good at rituals. Okay, so preparation is part of the fun for me. I actually enjoy the preparation because I watch a lot of games. I watch the tendencies of teams, how they play. I make sure in my mind I've seen what they've done in their last two games. I do a lot of background. I check local papers. I talk to coaches. I build charts on all the players with tidbits of information. But as you know, doing the same thing that I do, there's a ton of time spent preparing and going to the stadium. And I like to be over-prepared. That doesn't mean you use all the information, but I like to be over-prepared. And that's talking to coaches, building good charts, watching prior games and watching the tendencies of teams, and then looking at matchups and how the two differing teams and their tactics will fit together. So there's a tremendous amount of preparation that goes on during the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right up until the game. The day of the game, I'm looking at local papers. I'm reminding myself about some of the tendencies. And then at that point, you got to go, that's enough. Because you can over-prepare. And it becomes crazy. You're now doing so much that you're forgetting the game is going to tell you the story on Saturday.
Yes, so more like you get obsessed with the preparation that you forget the game.
Right. Yeah, and you can be over-prepared. And I've seen commentators, and I've probably been guilty of this myself, that because you're over-prepared, you think you want to get all this information in. And then what you do is you bombard people with a bunch of information and rhetoric, and it makes no sense based on what you're watching in front of you. So you have to be very careful. It's the right amount of storytelling, the right amount of respecting what we're watching at that moment, the players on the field, identifying them. It's the inflection in your voice. You as well as I know, when there's a good ball out of midfield and it releases a player and all of a sudden the tempo goes up, well, guess what? It's like your voice. Your urgency goes up, right? Like I am right now. Your urgency goes up because it's an attack. And people at home can sense by your voice something special could be about to happen.
Yeah. That's actually the moment that I love in football. That adrenaline, that transition from, he kicks the ball from the left full back, he takes it to the midfielder, and then the midfielder raises his head up. What does he do? He takes the ball back to his center back. Well, center back, that guy plays for Stoke City 3 seasons ago, and it was very, very fantastic. But we remember that he made a mistake, receiving the ball from his midfielder, and then he takes the ball back to, let's say it's jersey number 10 midfield man, and what does he do? He sees a running man who's caught the high line defense of the opposition, looping, and the ball goes, you know, your tempo all of a sudden goes from that slow, easy, trying to explain the move to knowing that there's somebody who is running like Usain Bolt, and that ball is a perfect ball for him, and he's got to control.
You have to know the game in order to do that. So if you're a guy that's just storytelling and you're storytelling and you're not paying attention to the game, then your story goes over that moment when the tempo and cadence of the game changes. It's almost like a great band, right? Sometimes they slow it down and then they speed it up, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big rock and roll guy.
Yeah, I like
rock and roll guy.
I'm a fan of American music anyway, so I cut across every genre of music that you guys have put out there. But I struggle with hard metal because sometimes it's very addictive. But every other thing I'm fine. Country music, rock and roll, R&B.
Everything. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I listened to country this morning, but tonight I'll be listening to maybe some harder rock or some reggae. I might put a little Bob Marley on at 5 o'clock so I can get in a reggae mood, you know?
I do too. So thank you very much, Glenn, for being on my show. And I'm looking forward to the day that I'll be on your show. I'm sure I'm going to give satisfaction like you've just given me satisfaction and fulfillment. Thank you so much. And we are packing our bags one cloth at a time, because in 2026 I'm coming with a Nigerian team to America, and I'm going to talk Canada, Mexico. I've really not been.
Get you here. We're getting you here before then, and you also have to promise me though, before I leave Chit Chat today, you got to promise me you're going to come on my show to talk Nigerian football, because I need your knowledge on my show. And number two, we have a big, as I mentioned before, and you know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. We have a huge, passionate Nigerian soccer community here. Actually, African community. We have Cameroonians too. We have people from all over the world in Houston. So I think it would be a treat for them to hear you from Nigeria on my show.
I do solemnly pledge that I will be on your show.
Okay.
But whenever you call me, I will be on your show. Thank you so much.
You're on record, so I got you now. That's good. You're good.
Yeah, you got me, and I'll live up to my promise. And do watch your mail. You might be getting something from these studios. Thank you very, very much for being on the show. God bless you. And we do hope that the next time we'll talk, it'll be a lot more fun, or even more than this. Thank you very much.
Adafe, thank you for having me on Chit Chat. You do a great job. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to having you on my show. Thank you.